Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. On this channel, we talk about problems people face in their day-to-day lives. Let's start with a video. I don't know where to start because it seems like this all was thrown at me out of nowhere and for no reason. I am shocked and out of words, not only of how unfair this all is, but also because the level of immaturity that my husband reached simply because he had the communication skills of a 12-year-old. But now, for some background. I am a 32-year-old woman and I met my now husband, 32, in business school. We became friends through mutuals and did not stop going out until we teamed up on a group project during our last semester of university. I believed that we were that couple whose love language was to help each other grow, learn, and thrive. We both wanted the same things in life, which was success and living a good lifestyle. And even though it took us a while to reach that point, that's exactly what we did. I truly believed that our relationship was a mature one, as our communication previously was transparent and calm. This made me feel secure about my relationship. After graduation from business school, I picked up a corporate job while my boyfriend was able to venture into the business world. He comes from a wealthy family, and so he had ample time to figure out what exactly he wanted to do after graduation. He and some of his friends finally co-founded a tech company. With a lot of ups and downs, the company had finally made profits for a couple of years now. My husband looks after his company while working on his own ventures. On to the current issue. After working the same job for multiple years, I needed a change. And so when I found out that my husband's company had an opening for the department I had specialized in, I decided to talk to him about me applying, as I wanted to make sure that he said he was completely okay with it. The conversation went very smoothly. He even explained to me the hiring process and also expressed how excited he was to have me there. Little did I know it was the complete opposite of that. So, in my ignorance, I decided to apply for the job. I went through several rounds of interviews, and when I got the email I was hired, I was happy to know that I would be able to contribute to my husband's company more than I previously could. I worked in the company for about 8 months. Everything seemed fairly normal. I got along with my coworkers, my department head, and the work environment was much more stress-free compared to my previous one. This was all before my department head started making snide remarks at my work, which he previously loved. Until now, my boss often talked about how he believed I was an amazing addition to the company. He said that the company needed someone bright and thoughtful as me to help it grow. So when he started making snide remarks about my work over the last couple of weeks, which he previously loved, I was quite confused. It all came to a head when he yelled at me in front of my entire department for a minor mistake that I made. I was shaken up. He was not only loud, but also made a remark implying how he's simply putting up with me because I'm the wife of the owner. When he said that, I reached the point where I had become teary-eyed. His voice was loud enough to catch the attention of the office, and I could say nothing but stare in utter shock. He then asked me to work on the assignment again and to submit it to him by today. I quietly sank into my desk as I started working on the assignment project while everyone slowly stopped looking at me. I was so humiliated that entire day. I did not look up from my laptop until lunch break, when my amazing colleagues invited me to sit and have lunch with them, which I declined. When I was done with my work, I tried to find my boss in his office and was told that he wanted to meet me in the conference room. When I walked in, I was surprised to be greeted with an apology. He continued speaking, saying that he knows he shouldn't be telling this to anyone, but he believed that he owed it to me. He told me that I deserved better than my husband and that I should keep an eye on him. This confused me because although I knew my boss worked under my husband, he had never talked about us in our relationship until now. So like anyone would, I tried to probe into what he was saying to get more information, and with much effort, he revealed to me that my husband had been wanting to fire me because he believed that my work wasn't up to mark, but couldn't by himself, so he hatched a plan. During one of the weekly meetings, my department head was made to wait back and was informed of the plan. He was told that he needed to nitpick on my work till the point that I would quit voluntarily. This shocked my boss, as he believed that I was one of the top performers of my department. He then continued to reveal more details of the meeting, and one of them was that my husband threatened to fire him if he did not comply. I thought my boss was making some sort of sick joke, but his serious face gave me the reassurance that I didn't want. I so desperately wanted to know why, and what could be the reason why my husband wanted to sabotage my career. I left the room by thanking my boss and assuring him that I would not let anything happen to him or his job. So here I am. I haven't gone home yet because I feel sick to even know the fact that my husband even had it in his mind to put me through so much distress. I'm sitting in my car thinking, what should my next step be? Will I be the a-hole if I believe my boss and confront my husband? Any advice would be appreciated. I went home, as many of you suggested, so as not to create any suspicion and tried to act as normal as I could. I tried to observe my husband's behavior, and I did notice that he was specifically being sensitive with his phone. I know this was going to be my proudest moment, but I decided I needed to go through his phone to get the answers to my question, because there is no way that my husband would simply just think my work is not up to mark. I knew there was something much darker behind his intention to fire me so desperately. So when it was nighttime and my husband was heading to bed, I claimed that I wanted to stay up to catch up on the TV show I was currently binging on. This is something I do frequently, so he was convinced fairly easily. After an hour or so of him heading to bed, I entered the bedroom to see his phone on the nightstand. Unfortunately, it was locked, and I wasn't aware of the password, so it took me a couple of tries to figure it out. This was due to the fact that I had always known that he sets his password as someone's birthday. After I got into his phone, I was going to look at his iMessage first, but the multiple emails from his assistant he had received at 2 a.m. caught my attention more. With the subject line, "For your eyes only." I already figured what I was going to get myself into. I felt my heart sink to my stomach as I opened his Gmail app to see him logged into a completely different email address full of emails from his intern assistant. I decided to open one which was already read and was horrified to see the extent of their conversations. He wasn't only having an ongoing physical affair with his 20-year-old assistant, but also was talking about how it was a headache to be in the same office as him. The coward of a man claimed that he had to hold back himself from taking her out whenever he wished to. Reading these emails one after the other felt like a punch to the gut, especially the one where he talked about how he wished he'd never hired me in the first place. It felt like someone had stabbed me in the gut. Even though reading the details of their relationship made me sick, I did not stop there. I proceeded to send the screenshots of their exchanges to myself, as I knew it could be used as evidence for divorce. Yes, I had made up my mind right at that moment. I also looked into his messages where I saw an entire exchange about him talking to his friend about his plan, and his friend cheering for him. This friend was someone I went to college with, and we often had dinner with him and his girlfriend. This only solidified that I was around the wrong people. But I knew I didn't have time to mourn about my relationship, but to pack up and leave the house. After collecting enough evidence, I packed up a few sets of clothes and essentials as I drove myself to a hotel nearby. I'm not sure what my next move is going to be, but I have emailed my resignation to my department head. I have also privately messaged him to thank him for putting his career at risk to help me, while reassuring him that his job will not be at risk, as I will not be bringing up any of what I said. Currently, I'm laying in bed and thinking about everything that happened. It hurts my heart every time I think about everything that unfurled. It was quick, painful, and very much unexpected. I cannot believe that I had such a poor sense of recognizing people, that I chose someone with an intention as ill as my husband. This was the man I fought with my parents to marry. This was the man I sided with throughout his failures. And this is how he decided to repay me? I woke up to my husband blowing up my phone from unknown numbers, as I had blocked his number and his accounts on all social media. I only want contact with him through my lawyer at this point because just looking at him would make my blood boil. However, I couldn't help but answer when my family started blowing up my phone. I figured the news reached them, and so I decided to talk to my mother and explain her the situation. I explained to her, and that is when I broke down. Every word I said, it felt like I was reliving the moment. The wounds felt like they were too fresh. My mom said that she was going to catch a flight along with my brother to come to see me as soon as possible, which I declined. I'm going to stay with a cousin who lived a couple of hours away until I feel more settled. I have booked an appointment with a lawyer, and I'm also going to meet my department head, who will be helping me find an apartment. Thankfully, with the savings from my previous job, I can afford rent and such for the next couple of months. Everything feels very rushed right now, but I'm hopeful with time that everything will fall into place. I also know I'll have to face my husband sometime or the other, but in all honesty, I do not have much to say to him anymore. Currently, I'm just numb, but hopeful of what the future holds for me. NTA, your husband sounds like a psychopath, OP. What kind of monster allows their spouse to go through emotional distress just because they're a coward and don't want to tell the world about their ongoing affair with someone who's almost 12 years younger than him? I am so sorry that your life turned upside down within the span of one day. It must be very tough on you, but it is amazing to see how well you dealt with the situation. You did not let him manipulate you into staying with him. I hope this new chapter of your life treats you well. NTA, and I'm glad OP got herself out of that very toxic environment. I don't think anyone around her was sane. Her husband, his friends, and his assistant seem major a-holes. I wouldn't doubt a second if OP's husband would take other extreme measures to get her out of his way. Also, kudos to the department head for coming into his senses, because I'm pretty sure he would have lost his job either by getting sued by OP or by OP's husband. I appreciate OP for standing up to the boss. I hope he can get out of that workplace as well, since it seems filled with extremely toxic high-ups like OP's husband. I'm a 15-year-old female. I have a cousin, Anna, also 15. We spent every minute together growing up, and I only ever really think of her as my best friend, not as my cousin. A few weeks ago, Anna got diagnosed with cancer. I won't go into the details, but it was a shock to all my family, and while the doctor said that she should survive with treatment, they suggested that she start chemo ASAP. I haven't been going to school much the past weeks, and I've been staying at their house most of the time. Anna has difficulties making friends, and I think she just wanted to be with someone she actually trusted. Not that she doesn't trust her parents, but it's a different kind of trust. Obviously, it's a horrible situation, but she's taken it reasonably well, considering the circumstances. She decided to shave her head before starting chemo, and booked an appointment to get it done. A few days before the appointment, my aunt invited me and my mom over and told us that she was going to surprise Anna by shaving her head too, when she was out getting hers done. We thought it was a great idea, and I know it would mean a lot to Anna. However, she then asked my mom and I to do it with her. My mom agreed, but I didn't want to. I know it sounds selfish, but I know Anna and I really didn't see how not doing it would have a negative impact on her. I didn't want to stand out at school or have anyone say anything about it. I'm aware how bad that sounds, since Anna doesn't have a choice, but that's really my only reason. My aunt got angry and started yelling at me, saying that I was selfish and didn't care about Anna and all. She wouldn't let me explain and called me an a-hole. She told me to go home and that I wasn't welcome back to her house. She said, If I actually wanted to help Anna, I would do this one little thing for her, and I clearly didn't care about anyone but myself. My parents thought that what my aunt did was unfair, but I couldn't blame her considering how much pressure she was under. I agree, but I don't really care about her apologizing. I just wanted to let me back into Anna's life. The ironic part is that I secretly texted Anna and told her what happened, and she said that she didn't care at all whether or not I shaved my head. I haven't been able to see her since, despite asking my aunt many times to hear me out, and she's still saying until I shave my head I'm not welcome. So, AITA? NTA, this is the kind of thing you ask the person impacted by. You don't surprise them by doing it. She may not even actually lose her hair doing chemo. That's not a given these days. And besides, it's your hair. Someone else shouldn't be telling you what to do with it. I'm a 23-year-old man, and I'm married to my wife, Dana, 25. I work, and she takes care of the house and our son, James, almost 3. I work every day from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m., sometimes later depending on the shift. Before I go to work, I change and dress James. He's a light sleeper and wakes up to my alarm. And I try to make sure that he's all set for my wife to take care of him. I even lay out his lunch and snacks so all she has to do is play with him and give him lunch. Well, over the last month or so, I will come home to see James sitting in front of the TV as my wife sits on the couch and reads. His diaper is almost always full. This makes me so mad, and I tried to tell her in the nicest way possible that she needs to start playing with him, changing him at the very least. Well, 3 days ago, I came home from work with some KFC for us to eat, and James was in front of the TV, not changed and not even fed. Let me repeat that. He was not fed lunch. She was on the couch reading. This put me over the edge. I simply couldn't believe it. Well, here is where I might be TA. I set the food down, filled a cup with cold water, and poured it over her crotch, and told her that she couldn't have dinner. OFC, she started yelling and asking why. I pointed to my son. I told her that if our son was treated like this, then she should at least know what it's like to be uncomfortable and unfed. She said that I would have no idea how hard it is to be a mom because I work all the time. I said, well, at least I take care of James. At least I don't neglect him. She said, fine, you are taking care of him then, and left, and she's been staying with her mom, and all her siblings have been calling me and telling me I need to apologize. And what an a-hole I am for calling her neglectful and pouring water on her. Am I the a-hole? What should I do? I am sure that he isn't being taken care of, based on the fact that when I get home, he's very hungry, and when I ask her if he's been fed and changed, she will never give me a clear answer. It's always, he shouldn't need it, or isn't it okay for him to go a couple of hours? And even, I'm too tired for this conversation. Also, I love my wife. I know it probably doesn't seem like it, but I do. I want to help her, but she just keeps saying I need to back off, and that she is perfectly fine and doesn't need any help. NTA, tell her not to come back until she gets therapy because something is obviously wrong with her. You need to protect your son. Neglect is a form of abuse.